SixthSaga here, and today's video is going to be a little different. Today we're going to look at a match between NRG and Rise Nation, and we're going to talk about some of the things they do as a coordinated team and how you can use those things both in your teams and when you're just solo queuing. Alright, let's get into it.
Rise Nation on defense first.
We'll see if Gods and Seagull can maintain that same level of coordination that they had in the control point map in Lijiang just a moment ago. It was absolutely deadly, it was devastating, and Rise Nation definitely going to need...
So off the bat, you're going to notice something very different about their positioning. Most of the time you play Dorado in a pug, you'll usually see people positioned in one of two places. Either in the road, which would be the worst possible place to be positioned, because you can get flanked from pretty much everywhere. Or two, on the high ground. Now the high ground is a much stronger position than standing in the road, however, it's not as good as backing up to this first choke point. Now I know when you're playing in a pug, most people think, I've defended this way this entire time, I'm not changing, my father defended it like this, I'm gonna defend this like this, and it's just a terrible train of thought. I suppose another concern is that you don't want to give ground, and where that makes sense to me, as pushing the cart, how far the cart goes matters in this game, as you can lose because you did not push the cart as far, but sometimes you just should give ground, because the position that you gain by giving the ground is much easier to defend. This kind of positioning is better overall because it limits flanking paths, and makes it harder for certain flankers to get to you. It also makes nasty chokeways that they have to get through. The map design in Overwatch is really interesting in that the majority of the maps choke off. So that instead of looking like a normal first-person shooter map, they look a lot more like a StarCraft map. And the team who's firing from a concave is going to be able to do a lot more damage to anyone who has to force their way through a choke. I'm sure we all know this, I'm sure we've all experienced this in game. This is also very similar to Route 66, in that how in pugs you often see people run up to that first hill and try to stand on top of it, but there are flank paths on both sides, whereas backing up so that you're at the gas station is a much, much easier place to defend. Alright, let's keep going.
To sort of spread out a little bit right now as NRG begins an assault.
And very standard compositions out of both teams. These are compositions that we've seen come into favor quite a bit recently, and Seagull's coming all the way from the behind. He's all the way behind. How did he get this far back? Seagull working on the flank of a century as the rest of his team flanking from the front, or not flanking, just pushing in.
Okay, so just a quick note about NRG's composition. They're running a dive team. The object of a dive team is to all go in coordinated at once and hit one target, usually the healers, so that once the healers collapse, the whole team sort of collapses behind that.
But he'll be showing his face very soon.
All right, here comes Gods, here comes Seagull, going in with the fall through. Will it be successful? It was pretty well executed, but thus far, no one on Rise Nation has fallen. They have taken serious pokes. Spirit almost dead, has to back out real quick, is not fully healed. Seagull takes his head right off. Gods moving in. 3 kills here from NRG, make it 4, and this is quite the blitz. This is gonna be a very quick cap of point A indeed.
Cool.
Now, what they do here is a absolutely wonderful flank in that Seagull patiently goes all the way around and then waits till his team is in position. Now think about the things that are in-game that allow you to do something like this. You actually can see through walls all the time in this game if it pertains to your own team. You can see their location. So you can use that information to have an idea of where they're at. Another thing that gives away location is the payload indicator. If your team is pushing the payload and you know that that's where they're at, then you'll know exactly where they are based on how far that bar has moved. So where this attack is incredibly well coordinated and incredibly well pulled off, it is still something you could do in a pickup game, just by paying attention to where your team is and timing their attack with your attack. So NRG's whole team is doing damage there, but the most important character I think to look at is that Winston. So that Winston jumps in, he lands on them, he does the splash damage for landing, and then he starts doing 60 damage per second to everyone that his Tesla cannon hits. That landing on them, and that hitting them with the Tesla cannon, that softening them up, is what allowed Seagull to get all of those dash resets. Without the Winston, this wouldn't have worked nearly as well. I'm saying this because I think Winston has a certain stigma against him, where people don't like to play him, and he's a super good tank, and at high levels he's still a super good tank. That 60 damage per second is consistent, which matters. It's the same reason people play McCree over Hanzo. Consistency is important. And because of that consistency, it allowed Seagull to get in and do his, best Genji in the world thing.
Take routes all the way around. It's not unprecedented, but you don't see it all the time. And it was well coordinated where certainly they were just talking with each other, saying, look, going now, I'm in position, and it worked out. And Seagull now with the Dragon Blade, able to add on extra momentum. He is ready. He can go in at a moment's notice. We'll see what happens in a moment. Gods can jump right up. Here comes Seagull. Dragon Blade on the way. Gods is in. Seagull is in. Slicing. Takes that block. Looks for more. It is a triple kill here from Seagull. Make it a quad.
Oh, that's all 6 wiped off the face of the planet, and Dorado has not been a good map for them so far.
Again, here we have a beautifully coordinated attack. He sits on the ledge waiting for his team to move up. He's paying attention to where the payload is, to where his team is relative to them. That Winston's not going to jump in until the rest of the team can cover the Winston. And when Winston jumps in, he comes in over the top with his Dragon Blade. The only reason that was so successful is because that Winston softened everybody up, making his job of getting the resets, getting the Dragon Blade swipes in much, much easier.
Sources to do so. It's going to be all the ultimate favor for NRG here, as Milo very close to a Graviton Surge, and Rise Nation exceedingly bunched up at this point in time.
They are bunched up right now, and Rise Nation, they need to make something happen now. They do have a Graviton of their own. They're about to have a Death Blossom. They do have the tools for a turnabout, but they're going to have to beat NRG in what will be an ultimate showdown. But NRG, they're a more experienced team. They have more just better ult coordination in general in these situations. It's going to be a tough challenge for Rise. Will they be able to do it here? Expertzy in the back. Deadeye at the ready, looking for his opportunity. Enigma.
This is a cute little moment. You can see Enigma pushing the cart while staying out of the range of the enemy team. He's the only one pushing the cart because if NRG runs under while they control the high ground, they're going to be in a terrible position. But it's clever the way he's staying out of sight and just staying behind the cart as it moves along. Alright, so a little bit of background about this match. This is a match where NRG completely rolls over Rise Nation. It's a completely one-sided fight, and one-sided fights are really important because they show us what really works. I know when you're watching esports you want to see like a very close competition between two equally matched opponents, and I do too. But when highly skilled players roll over other highly skilled players, you need to pay attention to that even more, because that's showing you a strategy that is very powerful, right? These are not low skill players that they're beating. This is the top beating the top, right? Okay, so let's fast forward. NRG takes that round with an incredibly fast time.
He's going to try something off the wall, off kilter. Very different stuff from NRG here.
So this is a better look on Dorado than it is on
agree.
Hollywood, given the distances involved. It is awfully risky here, though, in more than one way, especially if Pooks goes down early. This is high risk, high reward here for NRG. I think given how well they were playing standard before, it might be better for them to just come in with a more standard defense. They were certainly doing well on the attack, but this is what they've practiced. You want to play as you've practiced.
Okay, I want you to notice that NRG is deciding to defend that exact same choke. There's a reason for this. It's the better choke to defend. You're able to set out in a bigger concave, while the only main access points that you have to deal with are the choke in the archway and then the choke to the right of that. It is notable, though, there are flank paths. You can go over that yellow wall in the back on the second floor, but that's not available to every character. So, for the most part, you're dealing with the two main chokes.
Nation find a way in through that choke. They've actually chosen a good composition to fight this, as they have D.Va. D.Va's defensive matrix, of course, will be able to absorb all the incoming spam, including the Symmetra orbs and including the Junkrat bomb.
Okay, I want you to notice something Rise Nation is doing here. They've got all these DPS and all of these tanks that could be running ahead and smacking things, but they're not. They're staying with the group. Are you seeing the difference? Are you seeing how when people make decisions to run ahead, regardless of how good you are, or regardless of the kills you might be getting, it might just be a mistake because you dying costs your team time. Move as a group, work together.
Do make their way around the corner and through this choke point.
Alrighty, Seagull's Junkrat, of course, pretty devastating here on Dorado. He doesn't quite have as much distractions as he normally would because of the Symmetra. A lot is going to be riding on Gods to support him here, but Enigma able to get the first kill on the Script. X-Redzy in the back on the Gods. Does that matter?
Alright, I want you to notice Seagull's positioning here.
Doesn't quite have as much distractions as he normally would because of the Symmetra. A lot is going to be riding on Gods to support him.
Do you see how after they start pushing around the corner, he jumps off the fountain and puts the fountain in between him while lobbing grenades over it? This is how you should think to play Junkrat. Junkrat does not want to be in your face. He's actually a pretty big hitbox for most characters to hit. But whenever you can throw grenades, where your grenades are either hitting or not hitting, but causing trouble, where you yourself are not vulnerable, is a pretty good position for him. Like, people would have to go over or around that fountain in order to get to him, and he would have time to react to that. Don't put yourself too far forward.
He normally would because of this Metra. A lot is going to be riding on Gods to support him here, but Enigma able to get the first kill on the Spirit. But X-Renzi in the back on the Gods. Does that matter? 3 kills here from NRG, and that is enough damage to Rise Nation to push them back. Hoops at 33%, the real no.
Wow, NRG, have they done it? With 4 minutes left on the clock, it's still technically possible for Rise Nation, but it has to be here and now.
This would be...
Notice that Spirit is staying back instead of going in or setting up a position that's far advanced. This is because any position that's far advanced risks death, and if he dies, they're going to be going in 5 against 6. And where it is possible to win a fight 5v6, it's a disadvantage that you have put your team at due to your own personal impatience. When you're in a pug, don't just run in. Wait for people. Encourage people to group up. Even if the team is very uncoordinated, usually if you start being responsible, more people will realize they too should be more responsible.
Overwatch throws of all time. If NRG were to lose this game, it'd be one of the biggest comebacks from Rise Nation, but here comes the Earth Shatter. Milo setting them up. X-Renzi though, able to get the Gods in the back. It's 1 kill from Rise Nation. The Earth Shatter not doing as much as they would have liked. Here comes Spirit, takes out Hoops, looking for Seagull. Seagull not biting dust here just yet, is able to get healed up. Still though, under pressure, Spirit picks up 2 more kills. And even with the teleporter up, it might not be enough as Rise Nation thoroughly dominating this fight.
Oh, but the delay is happening, so that the teleporter is...
Alright, so from here on out, Rise Nation makes a really good pushback. However, NRG's time was just way too good, and there wasn't really a chance for them to win it. If you want to see the full match unabridged, you can see a link in my description. You can also see a link to the Route 66 Rant video, which talks about Route 66 positioning if you're interested in that. Also in the description. Also, this is a new format for me, so I want some feedback. You guys got to tell me what you think of this. Did you like it? Did you want me to show more of the match? Or would you like me to cut the match more so it's a quicker video? I sort of took the middle road this time, as I wasn't quite sure if you guys would want to see the downtime in between each fight, or if it would be better to keep it at about the speed that I have it currently. Now, I know there's lots to digest, but the main point of this video is that even if a pro strategy seems convoluted and difficult to pull off, there are principles that you can learn from it that are applicable directly to your game. By the way, if you guys are new here, I'm Saga. I make Hearthstone content and Overwatch content, and I travel the world and do vlogs and all kinds of other stuff, so please subscribe. See you guys later.